Hey Mama, welcome to the Mosaic Mom Life Podcast, where we help moms just like you discover your purpose and build a life you love. I'm Laura Stuffelbaum-Holt, a wife, mom, and career coach for stay-at-home moms who want to confidently transition back into the working world. See, we all have these random, seemingly scattered pieces of our lives that make up who we are. And especially as stay-at-home moms, it's tempting to see that as nothing more than a pile of junk that hasn't amounted to much of anything. But that's not how God sees it. He sees a beautiful mosaic. Each fractured piece of your life has a specific placement and purpose in His design. Romans 8:28 says that we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. So, let's take Him at His word and confidently dive into the incredible Mosaic Mom life He is piecing together just for you. Here we go. Hey Mama. So, do you struggle with finding peace in the midst of this crazy life? I mean, between the mountains of laundry yet to be folded and the sibling squabbles to referee and the endless requests for snacks between meals and on top of meals and right after meals, I mean, could you just use a little peace, a break from the overwhelm? Because that's me. That is me right now. And I think is me a lot of the times. And while I was doing my quiet time last week, I ran across this verse that made me just stop and spend quite a while digging through how I could apply that to my life. It was a whole lesson on the name of God, the Prince of Peace. Jesus is named throughout the New Testament. And so I did a lot of journaling. I did lots of talking with my husband and anyone else who happened to mention that they could use some peace in their lives. And this episode is the result of all that processing. So I pray that this episode will encourage you this week and that you will be able to find peace with some practical steps that we're going to dive into right now. So the verse I read was John 14:27. It says, it's Jesus talking, and it says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid." And it just reminded me that peace is a gift. It's something that I just have to accept. But how do I actually do that? So I spent a lot of time just breaking this down for myself and trying to find some good actionable steps to help me reclaim that peace that Jesus promises. So let's walk through that together so you can find those promises as well, even as crazy busy moms. So Jesus says, "I do not give to you as the world gives." He's going to give us peace. He promises peace, and He doesn't give us peace like the world gives. So what does that mean? How does the world give? And some of the things that I thought about were like, the world tends to give by expecting something in return. Well, I'll give you something if you give me something. Or they give things fickly. Like, we'll give it to some people, but not to others. It's rather unfair and just. They might be what we call Indian givers. They give something and then take it right back. Or they give something for their own gain. And I am so susceptible to this one. Like we talked back in episode 8 about emotional needs and how important it is to not only make sure that our own emotional needs are met, but to actively work to meet the emotional needs of those we love too. And it is not easy to reach out and meet someone else's emotional needs when ours are not being met. And as stay-at-home moms, so often our emotional needs just aren't getting met, which is why we feel overwhelmed and like we just can't find peace. And when we're touched out, we're frustrated with our husbands for not taking out the trash again, or we haven't had a moment of peace and quiet all week long, It's easy for us to think, I don't have anything left to give you. I have not had my emotional needs met. I am done. I have nothing else to give. I know that you need my time, my attention, my affection, approval, whatever it is, but I just can't. My bandwidth is gone. And are we not so glad that Jesus doesn't give like that? Jesus never runs out of bandwidth. He never gets overwhelmed with all the requests of an entire world throwing things at him all day, every day, minute after minute. He doesn't fall apart like we do and feel like he has nothing left to give us. He always has enough. He always has abundantly, exceedingly more than we could ever think or imagine. He's always got enough. So if Jesus isn't giving as the world gives, if he always has enough, how does he give? He doesn't give like the world does. How does he give? He gives freely, without question, without asking for proof that we deserve it, without asking us to deserve it at all. He simply freely gives because he loves us and wants good things for us. And he never runs out. That part just slays me. I mean, we get so bogged down in just running out of bandwidth. I don't have enough. I don't have enough bandwidth to deal with everything that is being thrown at me. But he has an endless supply of energy, provision, peace. Whatever we need, he always has it in stock. He is not Amazon. He always has everything we need right there, ready for us. And he's totally ready to just pour it out. So if Jesus has this never-ending supply of the peace that we are craving, how do we get it? If Jesus just has peace oozing out of his pores and all we have to do is get close to him, man, Jesus, pour that stuff all over me, please. I mean, it kind of sounds like he's sweating all over us, which is not really cool. But we just have to get close to him. It just rubs off on us when we are in his presence. Receiving his peace is just a byproduct of being with him, of seeking him, of soaking in his presence. So getting God's peace is the easy part. The hard part is what Jesus warns us about next. Let's go back to our verse. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. Did you catch that? His only commands here are do not let your hearts be troubled. Do not be afraid. He's doing everything else. He's leaving the peace. He's giving us the peace. He is not giving as the world gives. It's our response here that matters. And how easy is it for us to finally squeeze in a few minutes of quiet time before the chaos erupts every morning. And we try to grab hold of that peace. We sit down with God, we soak in everything that he can give us. But then as soon as the kids come flying out of their rooms, our peace just evaporates. We start thinking of all the things we have to do that day. Everything that has to happen in order to get these kids fed and get them out the door and get ourselves out the door and whatever else has to happen. Or heaven forbid, one child, wakes up puking, which is how one of our days started this past week. And we start worrying about how we're going to handle everything. How is everything going to get done when I have this sick child on my hands? And how are we going? We start worrying about all the things, right? We start worrying about everyone else getting sick and pumping them full of grape juice, which is super helpful, by the way. If you've had the stomach bug flying around in your house, pump everybody full of grape juice. It is a really good trick. But man, it is so easy for us to lose that little bit of peace we managed to soak up. And we lose it so quickly if we ignore Jesus's admonition to not worry and to not be afraid. Essentially, he is telling us to sit in his presence, soak up his peace. And then we have to stifle the temptation to walk out from underneath that umbrella of peace. We have to stifle that fear and that worry, and we have to hold on to the peace that he gives us. We have to keep our hearts and our minds focused on Christ and how readily he can supply everything that we need, even when life throws us fastball after curveball after slider. Jesus gives us the peace we need. We just need to stifle that temptation to worry. Now, I know that my stressed out, anxious heart needed this reminder, and yours probably does too. So where do you feel anxious, stressed, worried, fearful? Where are you struggling to hold on to peace? So this is what I want for both of us to work on this week, okay? 3 things. We are going to first sit in his presence. This means we actively choose to spend time with him first and foremost. We make that a priority in our day. We are going to walk away from the never-ending to-do list and make it a priority as early as we possibly can in our day. Lately, I've been getting up while the house is still quiet before the kids get out of bed, and that's what's worked best for me. Now, I will say, I fought this whole getting up before the kids thing for years. My oldest is 12. I have fought it hardcore for almost 12 years. And just in the last several months have realized that it is just absolutely priceless for me to spend time sitting and soaking up God's peace before the chaos erupts. If I am not grounded before that happens, my whole day gets thrown into a tizzy. And it is so much harder to reclaim that peace and hold on to it. So if God will wake you up before the kids, I often will go to bed and say, okay, Lord, if you need me to get up before the kids, I just need you to wake me up. Wake me up and tell me to get out of bed and go do my quiet time. Like, I need audible instructions. And a lot of times he will do that. And the days where I just cannot haul myself out of bed and I don't feel that push to just get out of bed and go, that's usually when God's like, you just need to rest, Mom. Just sleep. We can do this later this morning. So this is where the alternative comes in. If you really hate mornings, if you do not feel like God is calling you to get up before your kids, I totally get it. So here's the alternative. Sit down with God as soon as you can, using what we call the first fruits time, meaning the best part of your day. For me, for the longest time, my best time to sit down with God was like the first 20 minutes after I got the kids down for quiet time. As soon as they were in their rooms and settled, that next 20 minutes, I could pretty much guarantee that they were going to stay down. They were not going to get up and bug me. And so that was my time. That was the best time that I could offer God, that I could really sit and soak in his presence. Now that meant I had to go through the whole morning without that peace and without having that grounding effect. But that was the best thing I had to offer at that point. So I've got a whole blog post on that. It's at scatteredwoman.com/firstfruits, all one word. If you would like to hear more about this whole concept of using first fruits instead of just getting up before your kids in the morning, because I totally understand the struggle that is. Okay, so number 1, we are sitting in his presence. Number 2, we are going to soak up his peace. And this is passive action. We just have to let it happen. We're going to pretend we are a sponge and we are tossing ourselves in the sink full of water. We are just going to soak up his peace. It's kind of like when you take a detox bath. I'm a big fan of detox baths if you've read any of my health posts on my blog, but big fan of detox baths. It allows your body to soak up magnesium and minerals and all these things that are really good for your body, that your body needs to function. And it allows the body to release toxins. And that's really what we're doing when we sit and we just soak up God's presence. We soak up his peace. We are soaking in all the good things that he wants to give to us. And we're letting go of anything toxic so that we are so filled with him that nothing else has room to fit. So just sit and soak in God's presence. Get yourself in that water. Read your Bible. Talk to God about what's going on in your life. I mean, there's the verse about cast all your cares on him, right? Do that. And one of the ways that I often hear from God most clearly is when I actually journal my prayers. So I'm writing out what I'm thinking, what I'm praying, and sometimes I'll even write down what I feel like God is saying to me, just so I have some sort of a record to remind me I'm not crazy. I prayed about this. This is what God said, and this is where we're going from here. So really just soak up all the peace that he promises to give you. Get full to overflowing before you have to handle anything else during your day, if at all possible. And if not, stop the moment you can settle the kids in front of a Bluey episode, or you get them off to school, or whatever your first fruits time is. Intentionally carve out that time to let God fill you up. We need to be filled up. So we're going to sit in his presence. We're going to soak up his peace. And third, we are going to stifle the temptation to worry. This is hard for us worriers. I totally get that. We know we're not supposed to worry. The Bible tells us over and over and over and over again not to worry. But seriously, how are we supposed to do that? For us warriors, this is hard. So here's what I have to constantly remind myself. I guess the question that I need to ask myself on repeat: who is really in control here? I would like to think that I am in control, that I have everything on lock. I like to think that I can keep everybody safe, that I can prevent bad things from happening by worrying. But that's not how this works. We worry about our kids and our marriages. We worry about going back to work. Should we go back to work? Should we not go back to work? Should we work from home? Should we work outside the home? How should we do that? When should we do that? And then what should we do when we go and try to do it? I mean, there are so many things that we can worry about, that we can worry about. But what good does all my worry actually do? Can I prevent bad things from happening just by worrying about it? No, I can't. I can prepare and prevent some things from going wrong because I'm prepared for them. But by worrying? No. I can't fix anything by worrying. I can't add a single hour to my life by worrying. So I have to remind myself that God is ultimately in control. Worry and fear do me no good anyway. Plus, think of it this way. God doesn't have conditions for giving us his peace. We don't have to earn it. We don't have to deserve it. He gives it freely, willingly. But if we walk away, if we choose to turn to worry instead of accepting his peace, what does that say about how we value his gift? This hit me the other day. We cook amazing, healthy meals for our kids, right? And what do? They turn up their noses and continue to whine about being hungry because it's not the food they want. How often do we do that with God? How often? My youngest just did this, not 3 days ago. I made food. I knew that it was good for her. She would not eat it. She fussed for snacks. And I knew she wasn't feeling well, so I was really trying to get some good nutrition into her. I knew her body needed nourishment. I knew her body needed support. So why would I give her a bunch of junk? I'm not going to do that. because I know that kind of food would make her feel worse. Because good parents give their kids what they need, not necessarily what they want. This plays out in Matthew 7, 9 through 11. Jesus says, "What man among you, if his son asks him for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for fish, will give him a snake? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him?" We have a good Father. And we need peace. We crave peace. And that's what Jesus promises to give us. So why would we turn up our noses and demand less than what's best for us? Why would we turn to worry and fear when we know that He's giving us the thing that we need most? That peace is His good gift for you, Mama. Sit in His presence. Soak up His peace, and then stifle that temptation to give in to worry and fear. And that is my challenge for you, Mama. I hope that you will really take this and put it into practice this week. Sit in His presence, soak up His peace, stifle that temptation to worry and fear. Now, if you needed to hear this episode as much as I did, please hop over to the Mosaic Mom Life page on Apple Podcasts and leave a review with what you learned. What are you really taking away from this episode? And how do you plan to cling to God's peace this week? What kind of strategy are you going to use to stifle that temptation to worry and to fear? I know that other mamas are going to be so encouraged by those words that you leave on the reviews page. That's really the only way I have to hear back from you in like a public forum so that other people can read it. Other mamas do come and read those reviews. So if you are putting encouragement and a challenge to find and dig into peace in those reviews, how much are people going to be blessed by that? Please, please, please hop over and go do that. And I know that I appreciate those as well. I love reading them and hearing the things that you're learning and you're taking away from this. So let's go leave those reviews and encourage each other to 1, sit in God's presence, 2, soak up His peace, and 3, stifle that temptation to worry. He's got you in the palm of His hand, Mama. I'll talk to you next week. Hey, Mama, one more thing before we go. Would you like to win a free clarity coaching call with me? You could. I'm actually giving away 3 free clarity coaching calls at the end of this month, and you could be one of the winners. All you have to do is make sure you're subscribed to my Podcast Insider email list at scatteredwoman.com/insider. Everybody on that list is going to be entered to win, and I'll be drawing and announcing those 3 winners on October 29th. So if you are ready to start digging into your Mosaic Mom life and what your return to the working world could look like, be sure you head over to scatteredwoman.com/insider and get subscribed as a podcast insider so you can be entered to win one of those free calls. Also, if you know another stay-at-home mom who could use one of these free clarity coaching calls, be sure to send her this episode and encourage her to become a podcast insider too for her own chance to win. All right, Mama, here's to a beautiful Mosaic Mom life and a confident return to the working world. I hope to see you on a clarity coaching call very, very soon. Thanks for taking time to hang out with me today. I hope you'll continue to discover new pieces of your Mosaic Mom life each week. Do you have a question you'd like me to tackle for you in an upcoming episode? If so, be sure to send me a quick voicemail message. I'd love to hear your voice for a change and know exactly how to be praying with and for you this week. Head over to scatteredwoman.com/voicemail to leave that message. Also, If you've got a quick minute between those never-ending snack requests from your kiddos, I'd love for you to leave a quick review on the Mosaic Mom Life page on Apple Podcasts. Those reviews really help other moms find the show, discover their purpose, and start building a life they'll love too. That's all for now. Be sure to check back next week for our next episode, and I'll be talking with you again soon.